Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is January 16th, and this is edition number 2 on the day. Thanks for joining me here this evening. Right now, we're taking a look at the infrared satellite imagery, and I got the Doppler radar overlaid on that. You can see that precipitation that's been moving through western Oregon, where some temperatures have been in the 20s, and the ice is accumulating out there. And now some of this activity moves up across western Washington. Things are a bit warmer here, and we're still a bit unsure on just how much freezing rain is going to fall, and there could be some snow up north across some of western Whatcom County, southwest BC, Vancouver Island. And depending on the track of this low, if it comes in a little bit further south, it could keep things a bit cooler here across the Puget Sound and maybe bring the snow line a little bit further south with it as well. And we'll take a look at some of the weather model maps up here and kind of see what they're predicting as far as precipitation type and how much across some of western Washington. Big snows coming for the Cascades of Washington, Oregon, eastern Washington as well. Now, looking across some of southwest Washington, look at Kelso. Actually started as light snow here. In Portland, freezing rain has stopped for the moment at least. Over a tenth of an inch ice accumulation. And look at Salem, almost 2/10 of an inch there. Eugene not recording there. Astoria is at light rain, but there is still freezing drizzle falling at Eugene. I should mention that also. Hoquiam, light rain on the coast. Tacoma, light rain. The last ob had UP, which means it was probably mixed with snow for a little bit here. The precipitation discriminator, once it says UP, is probably a mix between rain and snow. It's falling at a speed it does not recognize. In fact, you can kind of see when it began and ended right there. Olympia right now, light rain just above freezing, but as soon as that hits 32 degrees, then that will show up as freezing rain here, and also some unknown precipitation, probably mixed with snow at times there as well. And this is kind of looking at the METAR coding here, and you can see the precipitant discriminator. When it says UP, it cannot identify the precipitation with any greater precision. So kind of interesting there, kind of some obscure facts there from aviation weather. But anyway, looking here, again, this has been going across this afternoon and evening here, and you can see back in the gorge, better amounts, but you saw we had a 2/10 of an inch already at Salem out there, so that should be continuing a bit off and on here as we go through this evening. And we have that winter weather advisory across from the Puget Sound for a little bit of light snow mixing in there and the potential for some freezing rain. We have winter storm warnings here across some of the Strait of Juan de Fuca, western Whatcom County, and we have some pretty good snowfall incoming here for southwest BC and Vancouver Island as we go through tomorrow. And you also see the winter storm warnings here across the Cascade. Be prepared for some very difficult travel across Highway 2, I-90, 12, White Pass. You guys know the drill. And taking a look at the storm total amounts here as we go on in through Thursday morning. Take a look. Some blowing snow could be going on out there. Look at Pullman up towards a foot. Spokane, big snow. Even Moses Lake and Ritzville getting in the action also. Look at Snoqualmie Pass, 3 to 4 feet. Big snows coming for the Idaho Panhandle and western Montana as well. Even Yakima, Sunnyside, Tri-Cities, Walla Walla out there. You are going to get some rounds of snowfall here over the next few days. There's also the potential for some freezing rain Friday through Saturday. Doesn't look like a huge event, but you could get up towards a tenth of an inch. Now, looking at the European, I want to show you something here. So as this system approaches, you can see that at 5,000 feet and at 2,500 feet, all across the Puget Sound right now is above freezing, even the surface right now. But the air is dry enough that when this precipitation comes down, it should drop some of that surface layer down towards freezing. At least we think so here. It's a very marginal forecast, and I'll show you more on that here in a moment. But if we put this into motion, you kind of see, again, where the best snow is going to be falling, where you're seeing this below freezing temperature at 2,500 feet and 5,000 feet here as we go through the day Wednesday across Vancouver Island, southwest BC, and west some of Whatcom County. That it could include some of the San Juans here as well. And again, Strait of Juan de Fuca and maybe the north tip of Whidbey Island. And if the low track's a little bit further south, it could work its way down into some of Skagit County there as well. And of course, big snowfall coming for eastern Washington, the Cascades, Washington, Idaho Panhandle, and Montana as well. Now, taking a look at the HRRR. So I compared the 01Z run versus 00, and you can see as we go through tonight, just a very marginal temperatures here. I mean, if we're off by a degree or two, either way, you could be plain rain or you could be accumulating some freezing rain. And the most recent HRRR actually has some upper 20s even showing up down between I-5, Tacoma, and Olympia. So that could be a problem. I mean, even a little bit of glaze can really slow things down and make things quite slick on roadways. And if you freeze that rain onto the aircraft surfaces, it can really muck things up at SeaTac Airport for all the airlines. You got to start de-icing every single plane. And when the entire plane is coated, even in a thin layer of ice, that can take some time, and it can bring some big delays for some of the airlines. So this could be a high impact event. It doesn't have to be a lot of freezing rain here. And of course, up north as we go through tomorrow, as the chance for some snow. Looking at my house, it did drop down to 33.9, but it's still right around 34. So again, we're right on that marginal borderline here. If you stay above freezing, things are going to be okay where you are. But if the moment you drop below, you start to accumulate that ice and you create that glaze. You can see the dryness of the air mass as well, the dew point down to 24.1. So we are going to get some evaporative cooling as that precipitation moves over some of the Puget Sound. Now, this European is the latest, and you can see some of that freezing rain showing up across some of the Puget Sound. Some pockets where it shows up being a little bit heavier, maybe towards moderate. So I can't rule out a 1/10 of an inch or two for some areas. And it's kind of highlighting actually areas up towards Everett and some of Snohomish County there, and maybe northern King County also as we go on into tomorrow morning and we start to wrap up that freezing rain. But the snow will be continuing across some of Whatcom County, southwest BC as well. The Cascades, you can see the gorge, freezing rain going on all the way in through tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow night before that finally wraps up. And then we bring another system here. We could start things off maybe back in the pass areas and some of southwest BC, initially a snow or some freezing rain trap back in the valleys here. And you can see off into eastern Washington, we got to start watching that time frame here as well for some freezing rain on into southern portions of eastern Washington, some of northern Oregon there is also. Now, taking a look at total snow Kuchera ratio in inches. Let's put this into motion. And you can see as we go through the day tomorrow, nothing expected for the Seattle Metro or Olympia or Tacoma or Portland or anything of that nature. We should be above freezing as we go through the morning hours here on Wednesday. But you can see that 6-inch snow line here kind of intruding down into Whatcom County, some of Skagit County getting in here as well. San Juan's, maybe the northern tip of Whidbey Island, and some of the Strait of Juan de Fuca as well, with some of the outflow wind could provide some upslope there also. And you can see across Vancouver Island. And look at some of the huge amounts occurring across the Cascades as we go on in through Friday also. And then as we go out towards Saturday morning is when that European model run ends. But look at big snowfall incoming potentially for Spokane as well. Now, looking at accumulated freezing rain on the European, what does it have to say for itself? Well, you see that freezing rain where it was in the 20s here across western Oregon. Lesser amounts showing up the further north you go. We're just not as cold, so not as much of that ice is going to accumulate. But you can still see this could still be somewhat high impact if it does verify. You start getting up towards 1/4 of an inch on surfaces out there that can cause some problems for some of the airports around the area. Now, taking a look at the herd, let's see what it has to say. The most recent run. So you can see it does show a little bit of freezing rain for Seattle, Everett, maybe in the outlying areas, Tacoma, Olympia, as you go off towards down Highway 167 here as well, off towards Bonnie Lake maybe. But yeah, we should be wrapping that up tomorrow morning, but it does show a few pockets of some heavier freezing rain in here, especially back in the gorge also. And I want to show you something here with Bellingham, the cross section. This is the NAM3 cam. This is the most recent information. As we go on in through tonight, you can kind of see how the column of air is on the left of the freezing. So below freezing column of air means snow all the way down to the surface here. And you can see that holds on through the day, or actually through the morning tomorrow. Now we're going on through the day tomorrow. And you can see things below freezing there all the way in towards the end of the run here, and that goes out to about, what hour are we on here? About 28. This is running as we speak here, but this goes through Wednesday night, so anything that's going to be falling should be snow, at least through Wednesday night here across some of Bellingham. You can see once you go below freezing there, as we go on into very early tomorrow morning, the column of the atmosphere does not get above freezing, so not expecting a lot of freezing rain, although that line could approach up towards Whatcom County at times. It looks okay for Bellingham right now if you believe the NAM3KM. However, if we go a little bit further south here, let's update this and make sure we have all the most recent data. This is Payne Field, Everett. You can see the above freezing temperatures here aloft across some of the Puget Sound there, but the below freezing at the surface. So we got to be careful as we go through tonight. We could continue some of that freezing rain all the way on, and then you see the very marginal temperatures. 33 you're okay, 32 or 31 you're starting to accumulate ice. So you can see the extremely fine line. If we got the temperatures above freezing here once you go up in the atmosphere at all, and then it kind of rises above freezing as we go into Wednesday morning, and things would be okay there. And then as the system swings through, we could get some higher hilltop snowfall, but that Arctic air mass will be scoured out. And in fact, if I go back a little bit more, you'll see some of the characteristics of that just because it's dry. You can see the difference between the temperature and the dew point there, kind of a characteristic of the air mass still being kind of that Arctic nature. Now, looking at the 6 to 10 day, you can see we're going to be leaving this Arctic air behind across much of the Pacific Northwest. This goes through January 26th, so just hang on a few more days here. We'll get back to our normal pattern of some frontal systems rolling through here, some rainfall for the lower elevations, some snowfall for the higher elevations, and it looks like it might stay stormy here towards the end of January. No promises just yet. We'll revisit that again tomorrow morning. And I was checking out the METAR coding there. But anyway, it's coming up towards the Puget Sound now. So if your temperature doesn't start dropping below freezing, it might just kind of stay as rain here. And you could even see a few snowflakes mixed in across some of western Washington also. But it's going to be a very fine line, as I mentioned. The further you get below freezing, the easier it is for that ice to accumulate to any surface. But anyway, hope you guys are liking these videos. We're going to do the full briefing again tomorrow. We'll take a look at the extended forecast as well. We'll see what's going on when I get up tomorrow. And it should be fun. Anyway, I hope you guys are enjoying this stretch of winter weather we've been having here across the region. Pretty big snowstorm across some of southwest Washington and northern Oregon, and now northwest Washington's going to get it. And Seattle's kind of been on the in-between here. We did get a little bit of snowfall a few days ago, but it wasn't enough to actually trigger measurable snowfall. Kind of a rare circumstance to get measurable snowfall during a strong El Nino, and we don't have it yet for the Seattle area, but we still have some winter to go. Maybe we'll be able to get that done as we go on in towards February or whatnot. But big snow is coming eastern Washington, Cascade Mountains of Washington, especially British Columbia, Idaho, and Montana. Dynamic winter storms. This thing rolls through here. You can see it spinning up. Pretty nice and beautiful looking on the infrared satellite imagery. But anyway, hope you guys are having a good night. We'll do this again tomorrow, and I will talk to you guys then.